All right. Let's start off by saying Barakateh Hawa, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rucha Kudash. Welcome to another live lesson. This is pretty much various topics dated January 14th, 2021, the year of the hastening of the coming of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. And pretty much, I'm just going to go in the spirit with a couple of things brothers have been sending me. You know, I don't really have a topic, you know, but Spirit's on me to do a lesson, say a few words, and however long the Spirit wants us to be, it'll be, and Lord's will, you know, it'll be edifying. A couple of brothers sent me this right here, the average age of an empire. So it says the average age of empires, according to a specialist on the subject, the late Sir John Bagot Glubb, is 250 years. After that, empires always die, often slowly but overwhelmingly, from overreaching in the search of power. The America of 1776 will reach its 250th year in 2026. All right, so we see, you know, this empire declining, you know. It's not as vibrant as it was. It's like a person in their old age. You know, they're not as sharp as they used to be, you know. So pretty much this is what's happening right now, that this empire is pretty much losing its zest, you know. So we're at, this would be the 245th year of America, you know, as an empire. So, you know, not saying that this is accurate, but this is just on average, you know, dealing with history, dealing with how these devils, you know, study history and research history and look at the different empires and how long they were around for. Now, this is what the prophet Daniel said in the book of Daniel 9:1. It says, in the first year of Darius, the son of Ahasuerus, of the seed of the Medes, which was made king over the realm of the Chaldeans, in the first year of his reign, I, Daniel, understood what? By books, the number of the years whereof the word of the Lord came to Jeremiah the prophet. So pretty much what we're witnessing is a decline of an empire, because each empire has a certain amount of time that they are to rule. This is Job 14:5. Seeing his days are determined, the number of his months are with thee, that was appointed his bounds that he cannot pass. So he can't pass the boundaries that the Most High set for him, and he can't pass the times that Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai has set for him. So let's look at this word determined, see what that says. I mean, I'm sure we looked it up before many times. The word is charataza, which is diligence, but it also means to cut, sharpen, decide, decree, determine, maim, move, be decisive, be mutilated. All right, so determined. And when something is determined, meaning that there's an appointed time for it. Let's go real quick. Determine. It says cause something to occur in a particular way. Be the decisive factor in. Ascertain, establish exactly, typically as a result of the research or calculation. So cause something to occur in a particular way. Be the decisive factor in. So the decisive factor in this is that the days of Esau have been numbered, you know, and we're ticking down to the very last minutes, seconds of his empire. This is Daniel chapter 5, verse 25, and this is the writing that is written, many tekel upharsin. This is the interpretation of the thing. Many, The Most High hath numbered thy kingdom and finished it. Tekel, thou art weighed in the balances and art found wanting. Perez, thy kingdom is divided and given to the Medes and Persians. So this was dealing with ancient Babylon, but the application of the interpretation of the handwriting that's on the wall is applied also to America, because there are actual things that happen to let you know when something has a beginning and when something has an end. So this is 2 Ezra 9:1. It says, He answered me then and said, Measure thou the time diligently in itself. And when thou seest part of the signs past, which I have told thee before, then shalt thou well understand that it is the very same time wherein the highest will begin to visit the world which he made. And we're seeing the Lord visiting this world by way of prophecies. You know, we see prophecies popping like popcorn. You have some out there that don't see it. You have some out there that have sold out so that they won't see it. That's why the scriptures say a gift blindeth the eyes. You know, so pretty much, you know, this place is at its at the breaking point, or at the point of disappearing. You know, they ran their course, and now it's time for them to say goodbye. Therefore, when there shall be seen earthquake and uproars of the people in the world, because these are some of the signs that the Lord spoke about would be happening in the last days. Didn't Yahushua speak about these things? You know, and the signs in the heavens, and the wars and rumors of wars and famines and pestilences. So we see that happening all over. And it's coming in clusters. It's not just a plague. It's not just a major war. It's not just a famine. It's not just earthquakes. They're coming in bunches. So it's a whole bunch of them, you know, coming together at once. And this is how we know we're at the very end. Because there have always been wars on the planet. There have always been famines. There have always been pestilences. There have always been earthquakes and typhoons and storms and tempests and hurricanes. So what makes it so different now is that they're coming in bunches. See? To let us know that we're at the end. It says, Then shalt thou well understand. Why? Because it's about measuring the time. You measure the time, compare it with what the scriptures are saying, and then you'll have a good, well-rounded understanding that the Most High spake of those things from the days that were before thee, even from the beginning. Because at the end of the day, the prophecies, the prophets speaking, and these prophecies being fulfilled are all to the glory of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, to magnify Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. It says, For like as all that is made in the world hath a beginning and an end, and the end is manifest. Do not the scriptures say that better is the ending of a thing than the beginning? So for like as all that is made in the world, but not all endings are good. Because Esau's ending is not going to be good. Because of what he has done. And Lord's will, that can segue into the next part of the lesson, if the Lord allows, you know, dealing with these chariots and the curse that's going to come upon Esau from these chariots. So it says, For like all that is made in the world hath a beginning and an end, and the end is manifest, even so the times also of the highest, because he set the boundaries. As we read in Job 14:5. Seeing his days are determined, the number of his months are with thee. Thou hast appointed his bounds that he cannot pass. Now, before we read on, let's go to Job 21. And let's just go straight to the point. Psalms 21:20. His eyes shall see his destruction. See? They're going to witness the downfall of their empire. They're witnessing the downfall of their empire. Now, these international bankers behind the scenes, they're thinking that they're causing all this commotion, which they are under the orders of the Most High on the left-hand side, but they're thinking that they're doing it in order to usher in their kingdom, in order to usher in their new world order. But the Lord is going to throw a monkey wrench in there. It says, and he shall drink of the wrath of the Almighty. Because remember, the scriptures speak about the lake of fire, which is going to be a certain portion of these devils around the world that's going to be a partaker. They're going to bathe in that, But for the most part, the top so-called elite are going to escape it in their bunkers, wherever it may be, because they're going to be the first ones to taste of slavery. It says, for what pleasure hath he and his house after him when the number of his months is cut off in the midst? See, while they're eating. Scripture say while they're eating, the Lord is going to cut them off. Yeah. Let's go real quick to Job 20. And right here, Job 20 and 23. When he is about to fill his belly, the Most High shall cast the fury of his wrath upon him, and shall rain it upon him while he is eating. See? While he is salivating. When you get ready to start to tear into that steak or into that salmon or into, them taters, or corn or whatever the case is, and your mouth starts watering. Well, the Lord said while he is eating, meaning in the midst of his new world order, seeming like it's about to finally be fully accomplished, that's when the Lord's going to rain on the head of these devils, man. So let's read this again, Job 21:21. For what pleasure hath he in his house after him? Because in his mind, they already achieved their new world order. They're salivating for that moment. But they're not going to fully get to enjoy it. It says, for what pleasure hath he in his house after him when the number of his months is cut off in the midst. All right. So now let's go back. Where were we? We read that. We read this. We read that. So back to 2 Ezra 9 and 5. For like as all that is manifest in the world have a beginning and an end, and the end is manifest, and we're seeing the end being manifested by the words and the prophecies of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai coming to pass. It says, even so the times also of the highest have plain beginnings in wonders and powerful effects, and ending in effects and signs. And we're seeing the effects and the signs taking place all throughout the planet Earth. And we're at the very end, because never in history has any nation really had control of the whole planet Earth like you see them have now. Namely the Edomites. Namely America, which is pretty much the greatest empire on the planet that has ruled ruled over the whole earth. And that rulership is going to be transferred over into Yahushai's hands / our hands, the Israelites. All right. So let's jump from there. Okay, what else did we have? Okay, we read determined. Okay, Psalm 75 and 4. I said unto the fools, deal not foolishly, and to the wicked lift not up the horn. Lift not up your horn on high, speak not with a stiff neck, for promotion cometh neither from the east, nor from the west, nor from the south. But the Most High is the judge. He putteth down one and setteth up another. So the way that this next kingdom is going to be ruled, or the succession of kings on the planet, does not come by way of a promotion. It does not come by way of strength. It does not come by way of voting. It does not come by way of negotiations. It comes by way of Yahweh Bashem Shai, who is the one that puts down one and sets up another. Daniel chapter 4, verse 17, it says, "This matter is by the decree of the watchers, and the demand by the word of the holy ones, to the intent that the living may know that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men, and giveth it to whomsoever he will, and setteth up over it the basest of men." And this is where we have a caveman ruling the planet. This is why we have the basis of men, the lowest form of man ever to be created on the planet, ruling. Beginning with those international banking families. They're nothing but the basis of men, cavemen, and women. So why are they ruling? Because the Most High gave the earth into the basis of men, just to show his power. And then it said, what did the Most High willing to show, make his power known, endured with much long suffering the vessels of wrath fitted to destruction, which is who? Esau. And they are the people of the Lord's curse. Let's get that real quick. Isaiah 34 and 5. "For my sword shall be bathed in heaven," meaning Esau's heaven. "Behold, it shall come down upon Idumea." Who is Idumea? This is the Greek way of saying Edom. Who are the Edomites? So-called white people that come from a man named Esau. "And upon what? The people of my curse to judgment." Because the Most High is going to bring judgment upon them. Because remember, the way they got their stuff, read James the 5th chapter about the rich men, was not by right. So if they got something not by right, what's going to happen? They're going to have to turn it over and give it up and turn it loose. Ecclesiastes 10 and 8, "Because of unrighteous dealings, injuries, and riches got by deceit," which is fraud. "The kingdom is translated from one people to another." And that's why we have seen the succession of kingdoms ruling. So now this kingdom of America, ruled by the Edomites, has been the wickedest kingdom on the planet Earth. And all those other empires, they came up and they went down. The Medo-Persian Empire allowed our forefathers to rebuild a temple to keep our laws, and gave us certain favors, bestowed money and gold and sheep and different substances to build the temple and Jerusalem back up after the destruction of the Babylonian Empire. That when they destroyed the temple and all that, but they still had a time where they ruled. They did. That was a good work, but what happened? Eventually, they still fell. So what makes you think that this empire is any different? And back then, all of those empires that ruled, they never thought that they'd go down. The Egyptian Empire never thought that they would go down. The Assyrian Empire never thought that they would go down. The Babylonian Empire never thought that they would go down. The Medo-Persian Empire never thought that they would go down. The Greek Empire never thought they would go down. And the Roman Empire never thought that they would go down. And what happened? They went down eventually. Same when the Holy Roman Empire came into play, the Dark Ages, all of those empires came to an end. And what happened? A renaissance happened when Esau got back up into power. And now that was the beginning of their empire. And now we're at the end of their empire. And as we read here, it says the average age of empires, according to the specialists on the subject, the late Sir John Bagot Glubb, is 250 years after that. Empires always die, often slowly, but overwhelmingly, from overreaching in the search for power. And we see that happening. What happened to the ancient Roman Empire? They spread their army too thin. They valued their money too much, until they had such a vast empire that they couldn't keep up with the upkeep. So they eventually fell. So it says, the America of 1776 will reach its 250th year in 2026. So today, today to 2021, they're about 245 years in. See? So they're at the end, man. And no matter how you slice it, the main slicing is what? Prophecy. But In every aspect you have eons, which are worlds. Let's go real quick to the book of Matthew 24:3. It says, and as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came unto him privately, saying, Tell us, when shall these things be? And what shall be the sign of thy coming, and what and of the end of the world? And we've gone over this many times. The word world there is not talking about the world in its entirety. It's talking about eon, or an age. It says forever and unbroken. It's not forever. It's an unbroken age. Perpetuity of time. It's not eternity. It's not the world. It's not the universe. It's a period of time. Age. And there are different ages. You know, empires come, empires go. They're saying here that the average empire lasts 250 years. America is at its 245th year. You know, and we'll be surprised if they make it past this year. You know, because of the way that the prophecies are coming in clusters and bunches. So when the disciples asked the Lord when is going to be the sign of his coming and on the end of the world, they wanted to know when was the end of the ancient Roman Empire, because they thought that was the last empire. But what happened was, when we read prophecy, that empire had to fall and it had to come back up into power. But this time, when it falls, it's not coming back into power, because the deadly wound will not be healed this time. This is why we read in Jeremiah 51:8 says, Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. How for her? Take balm for her pain, if so be she may be healed. We would have healed Babylon, for she is not healed. But she is not healed. Forsake her, and let us go every one into his own country that's dealing with these other nations, for her judgments reacheth unto heaven, and is lifted up even to the skies. So there's not going to be any healing ointment for this place. There ain't going to be anything to prop this place up anymore. The stimulus and the quantitative easing and all of these different things that they're doing to try to reinvent America is not going to happen anymore. America is CTD, circling the drain. And through all of the corrupt things that they've done, the rape, the robbery, murder, you know, the false dealings and the blatant disrespect for the Lord Yahweh Shem El Shai's word, and especially the thievery, the Lord is going to cause, you know, the chariots to visit even more frequently, you know, and eventually when the destruction comes, the Lord is going to use, you know, those chariots to bring the end of this man's kingdom, along with the missiles, the so-called ICBM missiles. Now, there have been many sightings of so-called UFOs. You go back into the 50s, you had Eisenhower, you had other presidents that spoke on the so-called UFOs. They spoke on so-called aliens, which are the angels of the Lord and the chariots of the Lord. You know, and for a long time, when the information age was not as prevalent as it is today, what happened? They would hide it. That's why they had something called Men in Black, which they would go and pretty much they would threaten people, you know, not to say, or they would pay people off, not to say what they saw, but say this, they saw that. But now it's to the point where it's so overwhelming. And after so many years, they're starting to declassify a lot of these records. And this was sent to me. A couple of brothers that sent it to me. Elder Mwatazak was one of them that sent it to me. This is called Unclassified FOUO. All right. Concatenated Prod Reports 1988 through 1984. And it gives you a bunch of different documentations of different things that took place. The Black Vault. But what I want to do is I want to go to the one that Elder Mwatazak sent. And like I said, there was a few brothers that sent this. This is number 12. It says, the report ends with the following comments by Colonel General Maltsev. I am not a specialist on UFOs, and therefore I can only correlate the data and express my own belief. According to the evidence of these eyewitnesses, the UFO represented itself as a disc with a diameter of 100 to 200 meters. All right. Now, that wasn't a super huge one, but that was a pretty decent size in comparison to the one in Zechariah, the 5th chapter. It says, then I turned and lifted up mine eyes and looked, and behold, a flying roll. So what was this flying roll? This was an actual chariot. You know, sometimes they call them the chariots of the Lord. Sometimes they call them clouds. Sometimes they call them a wheel within a wheel. Sometimes they'll call them flying rolls. Sometimes they call them a tempest because of the way that they spun. And they could take on different sizes and shapes. You know, they could, the lights that came from them would be bright in the night, you know, to light the way. So it says, and he said unto me, what seest thou? And I answered, I see a flying roll. The length thereof is 20 cubits, and the breadth thereof 10 cubits, which was a pretty small chariot in comparison to the chariot that Yahushua is going to come in, that was compared to a mountain. Now, in standard cubits that Esau puts out there, the standard cubit that they have is 18 inches. It could have been way bigger back then, you know, but going according to the graph or the chart that Esau says, a chariot that's 20 cubits by 10 cubits would be a chariot that's 30 feet by 15 feet. All right? I mean, that's big, but that's not big in comparison to how big the chariots can get. So say about 30 feet by 15 feet, you know, if my calculations were correct. And for those that deal in meters, that would be 9.144 meters by 4.572 meters, you know, because a foot, I forgot how I worded it. I think I worded it in foot. A foot is, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, 0.3048 meters, you know, which is not a full meter, you know. But I mean, that's something that you will have to get into. I'm not an expert in metrics. So this would be like a 30 foot by 15 foot chariot. All right. Circular shape, flying roll. All right. And remember, this one here said it was 100 by 100 to 200 meters. All right. So let's say 200 meters. All right. 200 meters to feet. So that would be 656.168 feet. All right. So that was way bigger than the one that Zechariah saw. But the point is, when I saw the meters part, I thought about the diameter of the ship in Zechariah. All right. So we're going to get back to this. But let's go back here. It says 2 pulsating lights were positioned on its sides. Yeah, because on its sides. Because you have lights that come from the chariots. Let's go real quick to Zechariah. I believe that's Zechariah, either the 12th chapter or the 9th chapter. Just bear with me. Let's try the 9th chapter. Zechariah chapter 9. But before we go there, I got another one. Let's go real quick to Isaiah 31 and 5. It says, as birds flying, so will the Lord of hosts defend Jerusalem. Defending also he will deliver it, and passing over he will preserve it. Because this is why in Revelation 18 and Revelation 11, it says, come up hither, my people, or come out of her, my people. Then in Revelation 11 it says, come up hither. Because, and then in Psalms 91, it speaks about, the chariots delivering the elect. Because that's going to be the only deliverance. I mean, there's still going to be people alive on the earth after the destruction. But here in America, in order to survive, you have to either be out of here or be up in them chariots. And that's going to be a spectacular event. All right, so now going to Zechariah 9 and 14, and the Lord shall be seen over them. Why? Because the chariot is going to be, hovering up above. Let's go real quick to Revelation 15 and 1. And I saw another sign in heaven, great and marvelous, 7 angels having the 7 plagues, for in them is filled up the wrath of the Most High. Because when the 7th angel blows, that's what I'm going to say. Inside joke. But once the 7th plague sounds, or the 7 trumpet sounds, or the 7th angel, that's it. That's the end of the mystery. That's the end of Babylon the Great. And we're at the very ending of the 6th into the 7th. And in order for the kingdom to be established, the 7th trumpet has to blow. And it will blow. This is Job chapter 5 and 19. He shall deliver thee in 6 troubles. See? So at the end of the 6th trouble, just prior to the 7th trouble, yea, and 7 there shall no evil touch thee, because 7th trouble means the end, the destruction. And if you on the soils of America, the only deliverance is up into the chariots. And only the elect of the nation of Israel are going to go up into those chariots. That's the so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native American Indians, and the Israelites scattered around the world, no matter what they look like, whose fathers, go back to so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians. So going back to Revelation 15 and 2, and I saw as it were a sea of glass mingled with fire. This is the firmament. And also, they were looking down from the ships down on the earth, and seeing the missiles hitting and the fire engulfing all of America, Babylon the Great, as if it were a sea or a lake of fire. Okay? It says, and them that had gotten the victory over the beast, which are the elect, and over his image, and over his mark, which is the mark of the beast, and over the number of his name, which is 666, stand on a sea of glass, having the harps of the Most High, which is the great deliverance, that song. And they sing the song of Moses, the servant of the Most High, and the song of the Lamb, saying, great and marvelous are thy works, Lord power almighty, just and true are thy ways, thou King of saints, which is heavy, because when the Lord delivered our forefathers out of the land of Egypt, what did they do? Moses sang a song. Miriam and the women sang a song. So there was a great joy and a great singing. So it's going to be the same thing now. Because remember, the scriptures say that it shall no longer be said, the Lord liveth that brought up the children of Israel out of Egypt, but the Lord liveth that brought up the children of Israel out of the land of the north. And there has been no event in history that has outshined the deliverance from Egypt, because it's still being spoken about. It's still the forefront. There's still it is still the greatest deliverance ever that took place, outside of the deliverance of Noah, his wife, his 3 sons, and their 3 wives. All right. So let's go from there back to Zechariah 9:14. And the Lord shall be seen over them, and his arrow shall go forth as the lightning, and the Lord power shall blow the trumpet, and shall go with the whirlwinds of the south. See? So the scriptures also refer to the chariots as whirlwinds. It says the Lord of hosts shall defend them. See? Because that's going to be the defending. It says, and they shall devour and subdue with sling stones, and they shall drink and make a noise as through wine, and they shall be filled like bowls and as the corners of the altar, because there's going to be a lot of bloodshed that's going to take place in the deliverance. Remember, it says that the slain of the Lord shall be many. It says, and the Lord their power shall save them in that day as the flock of his people, for they shall be as the stones of a crown lifted up as an ensign upon his land. So the lights from this chariot look like a crown with different stones, precious stones on it. You know, you've ever seen a gold crown, and it has all different type of precious stones. You might have emeralds, you might have rubies, you might have sapphires. You know, you might have different color stones, chrysolite, you know, amethyst, you know, and it looks beautiful. Well, that's how the chariots are. They're perfect, you know. All right, so now let's go back to the article real quick. It says 2 pulsating lights were positioned on its sides. When the object flew in a horizontal plane, the line of the lights was parallel to the horizon because of the way that they moved. During vertical movements, it rotated and the line was perpendicular to the ground. Moreover, the object rotated around its axis and performed an S-turn. Now, let's go real quick to the book of Ezekiel, chapter 1. Just want to go straight to the point. Let's go to 7. And their feet were straight feet. They're dealing with the angels. And the sole of their feet was like the sole of a calf's foot. And they sparkled like the color of burnished brass. And they had the hands of a man under their wings on their 4 sides. And they 4 had their faces and their wings. This is describing the angels. Their wings were joined to one to another and turned not when they went. They went every one straight forward, because the angels do not move like we move. They can go straight forward and then at the drop of a hat just turn and go a different way without having to physically turn. It says, as for the likeness of their faces, let's just jump down to 12. And they went every one straight forward, whither the spirit was to go. This is dealing with the chariots. They went, and they turned not when they went. Yeah. It says, as for the likeness of the living creatures, I'm just trying to get to the main points. Let's see. Right. And the living creatures ran and returned as the appearance of a flash of lightning. All right. Because here it says, when the objects flew in a horizontal plane, the line of the lights was parallel to the horizon. During vertical movements, it rotated and the line was perpendicular to the ground. Moreover, the object rotated around its axis and performed an S-turn, flight both in the horizontal and vertical planes. Next, the UFO hovered above the ground, then flew at a speed that was 2 to 3 times that of modern jet fighters. So didn't we just read that it says, and the living creatures, Ezekiel 1:14, and the living creatures ran and returned as the appearance of a flash of lightning? It says all of the observers noticed that the flight speed was directly related to the flashing of the side lights. The more often they flashed, the higher the speed. The objects flew at altitudes ranging from 1,000 to 7,000 meters. It says the movement of the UFO was not accompanied by sound of any kind. And this is how you know the difference between when you actually see an actual chariot or not. Because the chariots don't make sounds. You know, you see them people show, oh, what's that? Come on, man, that ain't no chariot. Chariots don't make no sounds. It says accompanied by sounds of any kind and was distinguished by a startling maneuverability. You know, and they've said that they move like the flash of lightning. It said it seemed that the UFO was completely devoid of inertia. In other words, they had somehow come to terms with gravity because they're not under the laws of aeronautics. They defy the laws of aeronautics. You know, if you take a person and you put them in some kind of ship and you take them at speeds that are too great and you make a quick turn, their whole body's going to contort and break apart. You know, humans are not built like that. But the angels are. It tells us that in 1 Corinthians, the 5th chapter, how the flesh of the celestial is different. It says, at the present time, terrestrial machines could hardly have any such capabilities. Why do you think it says in 2 Ezra 13 that they're going to be afraid? And yet there's fight. Can you imagine the sight of Yahushua, Michael, and the rest of the angels and their chariots coming to fight against Esau and those puny little jet fighters that they call their angels? They're going to get slaughtered. That's why I said that upon an innumerable multitude of people and their so-called angels, which are their ships, nothing was to be perceived but dust and smell of smoke, because they're going to be going up. They're going to be going up in smoke. It says the object was observed as a pip from a radar target on the screens of aircraft, radar sites, and on the screens of electronic surveillance units. At one station, no observation was established. All right. And it goes on to go into more. You know, I just wanted to read that particular one. And for brothers that are interested in reading more of this, I put it in the description box. You know, you could go to the description box and read more for yourself if you want. That's all I'm going to read on that. And I'm going to read this last precept and close the lesson out. This is Zechariah 5:3. It says, then said he unto me, this is the curse that goeth forth over the face of the whole earth. So this is a curse unto who? Unto Esau. Because whenever you have those different so-called sightings or abductions, what is it? A bunch of Edomites that get beamed up, get the hell beat out of them, or whatever the case is. You know, they've made movies on it. And now all of these records are declassified. And you can see these are old records that are declassified now. It says, for everyone that stealeth, which is Esau, the thief cometh not before to steal, shall be cut off as on this side according to it, and everyone that sweareth shall be cut off as on that side according to it, because Esau likes to steal and they like to swear. You know, so if you go this way, they got you. If you go that way, they got you. Inside joke. So no matter what you do, they're going to get you, man. It says, I will bring it forth, saith the Lord of hosts, and it shall enter into the house of the thief. Which the house of the thief, the main house is where? America, Basra, Edom. You know, Babylon the Great. This is the main chief house. This is the house of the thief. This is where they launched their New World Order from. This is where they launched the theft of the whole entire world. It says, and into the house of him that sweareth falsely by my name, because they know the name of the Lord. That's why in Revelation 13, it speaks about them blaspheming the name of the Lord. That's why they pay these individuals not to say the Lord's name, to change the Lord's name, to say something different than what the Lord's names are. Because the very first thing that was taken away from the ICGJC when they were first approached and Comfy first sold out was what? The name of Yahushai. They left the Most High's name for a period of time. They took Yahushua's name because that is the key to getting to the Father. Then eventually they took the Most High's name away. Same thing with IUIC. They took away the names of Yahweh and Yahushai because those names are very important. You see? So Esau knows those names. And this is why, matter of fact, before we read that, let's go prove that. Let's go to the book of Malachi, chapter 1, verse 14. It says, but cursed be the deceiver which hath in his flock a male, and voweth and sacrifices unto the Lord a corrupt thing. For I am a great king, saith the Lord Yahweh Bashem Shai of hosts, and my name is dreadful among the heathen. So they know the name of the Lord, but they don't want that name out there. That's why they paid certain individuals to do that. So it says, and into the house of him that sweareth falsely by my name, and it shall remain in the midst of his house. So the chariots are all around. They're here. They've never gone anywhere. They've always been here, waiting for the moment. You go all the way back to the 50s. I think it was 52 or 54. They, if I'm not mistaken on the dates, they hovered all over the Capitol building. And then the first thing they did was scramble jets over there. And then by the time the jets got there, the chariots were gone. So the chariots have always been here. But they just cloaked themselves. But now that we're getting closer and closer to the end, there are more and more sightings of them coming out. It says, and shall consume it with the timber thereof and the stone thereof. Yeah, because this place was built up. They said, the Lord said they were built, but I was thrown down. Let's go real quick to Habakkuk chapter 2. And let's start at 9. Woe to him that coveteth an evil covetousness to his house, that he may set his nest on high, that he may be delivered from the power of evil. And that's what these devils have done. They've never done a hard day's work in their life. Everything they got by theft, by robbery, which is the same thing, by murder, by deception, by fraud. It says, thou hast consulted shame to thy house by cutting off many people. And they've done that. And has sinned against thy soul. It says, for the stone shall cry out of the wall, and the beam out of the timber shall answer. Yeah, because the destruction is going to tear all of this up. And all of this stuff that you built up is going to be destroyed, destructured by Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. You know, when he sends Yahushai and the angels back. That's what it speaks about here. It says, and shall consume it with the timber thereof and the stones thereof. So all of your buildings that you've built up, your capital buildings and your different courthouses and your different ancient Roman fascias on these buildings, the Lord is going to destroy all of that. It's going to be a witness against you. So pretty much that's what I wanted to bring out, through the Spirit. I'm glad the Spirit allowed me to get through this. The average age of an empire is 250 years. America's at its 245th year. We'll be surprised if it goes past, this year, 2021, because you see everything ramping up. A couple more days, I'll have this so-called inauguration, and, there's all kind of funny business going on behind the scenes, and we're going to see what's going to happen, with this whole situation. Is this going to be the straw that broke the camel's back? Is this going to cause total anarchy? Is this going to cause total martial law? Because this, as far as I'm concerned, I don't think this ever really happened in this manner like this. You did have the Civil War, but anytime a president would lose, they will move right out, of the White House and let the next president come in. So it's very interesting to see what's going to go down these next few days. So with that, I pray that you brothers have been edified. The waterfall, the comments, and all the scriptures you brothers put up. So like I didn't really get to any of them. But our Lord's will, you brothers were edified. Till the next time I say, Shalom.